Doyen Kim rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the microscope screen again. The clock on the wall showed 3:17 in the morning. He was alone in Lab 7C, which was exactly how he liked it. The night shift gave him peace to focus on his work without interruptions. For the past 6 months, he had been studying tiny organisms collected from a newly discovered planet. These microorganisms could survive in extreme cold, intense heat, and even in the vacuum of space. Understanding them might help humans survive on harsh alien worlds. The research station called New Horizon floated quietly in the darkness of space. It was humanity's farthest outpost, positioned at the edge of explored territory. Over 300 scientists and crew members lived and worked here, but at this hour most of them were sleeping. Doyen enjoyed these quiet hours. He could think clearly without the constant chatter and interruptions that filled the daytime shifts. He was making notes on his tablet when he heard the soft hiss of the lab door opening. Doyen looked up, annoyed. The door was locked. Only people with level 4 clearance could enter, and nobody else should be working this late. Perhaps it was a maintenance worker, though they usually announced themselves first. What walked through the door made Doyen freeze completely. She was tall, at least 7 feet, with skin that seemed to glow with a soft silver light. Her face was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her eyes were larger than normal, colored a deep violet that seemed to shift like liquid. She had no hair, but delicate patterns covered her scalp like tattoos that moved gently across her skin. Her hands had only 3 fingers each, long and elegant. She wore flowing robes that looked expensive and formal, colored in shades of blue and silver. Doyen stood up quickly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. His hand moved toward the emergency alarm button under his desk. "You're in the incorrect room," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. His heart pounded in his chest. In all his years working in space, he had never seen an alien. Humans had been exploring space for 200 years, and had never found intelligent alien life. Every scientist dreamed of this moment, but Doyen had never expected it to happen in his lab at 3 in the morning. The alien woman smiled. The gesture looked practiced, as if she had studied human expressions carefully. "I know," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that no human voice possessed. Doyen's finger hovered over the alarm. "How did you get on this station? How did you get past security? How do you speak English?" The questions tumbled out of his mouth. His scientific mind was racing with possibilities, but his survival instinct was screaming at him to call for help. The alien woman moved slowly, her movements graceful and deliberate. She clearly understood that she was frightening him. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small device about the size of a coin. She placed it gently on Doyen's workstation. "Please," she said, "watch, then decide if you want to trigger that alarm." The device projected a hologram into the air above the desk. Doyen saw star maps, but they showed regions of space he didn't recognize. There were markers and symbols in languages he had never seen. The map zoomed in to show a section of space. With a shock, Doyen recognized the solar system containing Earth. But surrounding human space was a glowing red line, forming a perfect sphere around all human colonies. "My name is Talisa," the alien woman said. "I am an ambassador from the Viridian Coalition. What you are seeing is a quarantine barrier. Your species has been contained within this boundary for the past 200 years. Doyen stared at the hologram. "That's impossible. We've sent ships much farther than that line." "You thought you did," Talisa said gently. "The barrier redirects ships. It makes your navigation systems fail in subtle ways. Your ships turn back, believing they encountered technical problems or dangerous space phenomena. You never knew you were being turned around." "Why?" Doyen demanded. "Why would anyone quarantine humanity?" Talisa's expression became sad. "Because the Galactic Council was afraid of you. When humans first achieved faster than light travel, we detected you immediately. The Council studied your species and made a decision. Humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too innovative. Other species had achieved peace before reaching the stars. Humans brought your conflicts with you into space. The Council decided to isolate you, to watch you from a distance, to wait and see if you would destroy yourselves or mature." Doyen felt dizzy. He sat down slowly. Everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe was wrong. They weren't alone. They had never been alone, and they had been prisoners without knowing it. "Why are you telling me this now?" he asked. Talisa manipulated the device. The hologram changed, showing images of Doyen's own research notes. "Because of your work. You've been studying extremophile microorganisms, yes? Your colleague, Minha Park, used your data to develop something remarkable, a medical treatment that can heal injuries that would kill any other known species. It can even repair psychological trauma at a cellular level. Doyen nodded slowly. Minha had been excited about her breakthrough last month. She was working 3 labs down, developing regenerative medicine. So, that's good research, but why does it matter to your council? Because word has leaked out, Talisa said. Her voice became urgent. Someone intercepted your station's communications. Now 6 different alien governments know about this discovery. Some want to trade with humanity. Some want to steal your research. And some want to destroy Earth before humans become too powerful to contain. The room felt suddenly cold. Destroy Earth? Doyen whispered. Ships are already moving toward your space, Talisa said. You have very little time. I came here to this lab, to this room, to find you specifically. The Council is meeting to decide humanity's fate. I can take you to them. You can testify. You can explain your research. You can try to convince them that humans deserve to join the galactic community rather than be eliminated or imprisoned forever. Why me? Doyen asked. Why not go to Earth's government? Because your governments don't know aliens exist. Revealing ourselves to them would cause panic, delay, and chaos. You are a scientist. You understand the importance of evidence and reason. You know the research. And you have 6 hours to decide if you'll come with me or stay here and watch as humanity faces possible extinction. Talisa stepped back toward the door. I'll wait in my ship docked at Port 7. Come alone or bring others you trust. But decide quickly, Doyen Kim. The galaxy is watching humanity now, and not everyone watching wishes you well. She left as quietly as she had arrived. The door hissed shut behind her. Doyen sat in his lab, surrounded by his research, and realized his quiet night shift had just become the most important moment in human history. His hand shook as he reached for his communicator. He needed to call Commander Jiwoo Choi. He needed to call Minha. He needed to decide if he believed the alien woman or if this was some elaborate trick. But deep in his scientist's heart, he knew she was telling the truth. The hologram was still floating above his desk, showing that red line around human space. Humanity had been living in a cage and they had never known it. Now the cage door was opening, but what waited outside might be more dangerous than any human had ever imagined. Commander Jiwoo Choi arrived at Lab 7C within 15 minutes of Doyen's call. She was a calm woman in her 40s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had commanded the New Horizons station for 7 years and had handled countless emergencies. But nothing had prepared her for this. Doyen showed her the hologram recording. They watched it 3 times in silence. Jiwoo's face remained neutral, but her hands gripped the edge of the desk tightly. When the recording ended, she took a deep breath. If this is real, it changes everything, she said quietly. We need more people. People we trust completely. Within an hour, 4 people sat in the lab. Doyen and Jiwoo were joined by Minha Park, whose medical research had started this crisis. Minha was younger than Doyen, only 28, with kind eyes and steady hands. She had dedicated her life to healing people. Next to her sat Hyunwoo Lee, the station's military security chief. He was a serious man who rarely smiled, but his tactical mind was brilliant. Finally, there was Yoonji Song, a language specialist who studied alien communications. She was hopeful they would find alien life someday. That day had apparently arrived. We should go, Minha said immediately after seeing the recording. If there's any chance this is real, we have to try to save Earth. It could be a trap, Hyunwoo warned. We know nothing about these aliens. They could be kidnapping key researchers. Why would they need a trap? Yoonji asked. If they have technology to quarantine all of human space for 200 years, they could simply take us by force. Jiwoo nodded. Yoonji is right. If this is real, we don't have much choice. But I'm not sending anyone alone. She looked at Doyen. I want you to take Minha, Hyunwoo, and Yoonji with you. 4 perspectives are better than 1. If this ambassador truly wants testimony before their council, she'll have to accept all of you. Doyen felt relieved. He hadn't wanted to face this alone. What about you? I'm staying here, Jiwoo said firmly. If this goes wrong, someone needs to warn Earth, and if it goes right, someone needs to prepare this station for what comes next. At 4:30 in the morning, the 4 humans walked through the quiet corridors of New Horizons Station toward docking Port 7. They each carried a small bag with basic supplies. Hyunwoo insisted they all wear discreet recording devices. If something happens to us, at least there will be evidence, he said. The ship at Port 7 was beautiful and strange. It was smooth and egg-shaped, with no visible engines or weapons. Soft blue light glowed from its surface. Talisa stood at the entrance, waiting patiently. She showed no surprise when she saw 4 humans instead of 1. "Welcome," she said simply. "Please come aboard." The interior of the ship was even stranger than the outside. The walls seemed to shift colors gently. There were no visible controls, no seats, no equipment that the humans recognized. Talisa gestured to a circular platform in the center of the main chamber. "Please stand here. The journey will take approximately 6 hours. 6 hours to where?" Hyunwoo asked suspiciously. "To the council station," Talisa answered. "It orbits a neutron star in the Parvo system. By your measurements, approximately 400 light-years from here. For your fastest ships, that would take decades. For mine, it takes 6 hours. The humans looked at each other with wide eyes. The ship began to move. There was no sound, no vibration, no sense of acceleration. Through a window that appeared in the wall, they watched the New Horizon station shrink rapidly, and then vanish. Stars stretched into lines of light. Then everything went strange. Colors that had no names flashed past. The humans felt dizzy and had to sit down on cushions that rose from the floor at just the right moment. During the journey, Talisa told them about the galaxy they had been hidden from. She projected holograms showing different alien species. The Viridian Coalition, her own people, were ancient and focused on diplomacy. They believed in balance and careful negotiation. They had been watching humanity with cautious interest. Then there was the Korthan Empire, a military powerhouse. The Korthans were tall, muscular beings with dark red skin and 4 arms. They valued strength and honor. Talisa explained that the Korthans saw humanity as either potential warriors to recruit or threats to eliminate. They hadn't decided which yet. The Silvani Collective appeared next in the hologram. They looked like large insects with multiple legs and shimmering wings, but they were brilliant scientists who shared a hive mind. Thousands of Silvani could think as one. They were fascinated by humans because each human had a completely independent mind. To the Silvani, human individuality was both wonderful and terrifying. There were the merchant guilds, loose associations of species who cared mainly about profit and trade. They saw humanity as a business opportunity. If human medical technology was as good as reports suggested, they wanted to buy it or steal it. Finally, Talisa showed them the preservation front. These were isolationist species who believed the galaxy should remain exactly as it was. Change frightened them. New species threatened their sense of order. They wanted humanity to remain quarantined forever or be eliminated entirely. The council includes 47 different species, Talisa explained. They have maintained peace in this region of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. But that peace came with a price. Innovation slowed. Change became rare. Most species have looked exactly the same and thought exactly the same for thousands of years. That sounds boring, Minha said quietly. It is, Talisa admitted. And that's one reason I came to find you. My people, the Viridians, have been watching humanity for 200 years. We've studied your art, your music, your science, your endless conflicts and creativity. You're chaotic and unpredictable, but you're also alive in a way most galactic species have forgotten how to be. Yunji leaned forward. You said the council quarantined us because we achieved space travel while still divided. What did you mean? Talisa's expression became sad again. Every other spacefaring species in the council achieved global unity before developing faster-than-light travel. They had one government, one language, one purpose, but humans reached the stars while still fighting among yourselves, while still maintaining dozens of different cultures and governments and belief systems. The council found this terrifying. They couldn't predict what unified humans might accomplish, so they decided to keep you contained. But we're not unified, Doyen pointed out. We're still divided. I know, Talisa said. But you're unifying faster now. Your colonies communicate more freely. Your scientists share research across political boundaries. You're beginning to see yourselves as one species instead of competing nations. And that, combined with your medical breakthrough, has made several council members very nervous. Hyunwoo had been quiet, thinking carefully. Now he spoke. You keep calling it a breakthrough. It's good medicine, but why does it scare anyone? Talisa pulled up an image of cellular structures. Every known species has limits to their healing. Injuries beyond a certain point are fatal. Psychological trauma accumulates and causes permanent damage, but your treatment, based on Doyen's extremophile research and Minha's application, seems to bypass those limits. You're not just healing injuries, you're rewriting what's medically possible. If humans can heal from anything, if you can remove the psychological weight of trauma, you become very difficult to stop. The ship suddenly slowed. The strange colors faded. Stars appeared again as points of light. Ahead of them, the humans saw something that made them gasp. The council station was enormous, a structure that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. It was shaped like a ring, miles in diameter, orbiting a rapidly spinning neutron star. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a flower. "We're here," Talisa said. "The council is gathering. In a few hours, you'll stand before representatives of 47 alien species. They'll decide if humanity deserves freedom or continued imprisonment. Some will argue for your extinction." Minha's voice shook slightly. "And what do you think they'll decide?" Talisa looked at each of them in turn. "I honestly don't know. The council hasn't faced a decision this important in thousands of years. But I can tell you this. You four are humanity's best chance. Show them who you really are. Show them why humans deserve a place in the galaxy." The ship docked gently at the massive station. Doors opened, revealing a corridor filled with beings of shapes and sizes the humans had never imagined. Their journey to save humanity had truly begun, and there was no turning back now. Walking through the council station felt like moving through a fever dream. The corridor was wide enough for 20 people to walk side by side, but it was crowded with alien beings of every imaginable type. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others on 4 or 6 or more. Some floated without touching the ground. Some were small as children. Others towered 3 times human height. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers, and something the humans had no words for. Doyen tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to look. A creature made of what appeared to be living crystal drifted past, refracting light in rainbow patterns. A being that looked like a walking tree nodded politely at them. 2 aliens that seemed to be made of swirling gas in containment fields conversed in sounds like wind chimes. Yunji was trying to record everything with her eyes, memorizing details. As a language specialist, she had dreamed of this her entire life. "There are so many," she whispered. "So many different ways to be alive." Yunwu's hand stayed near his sidearm, though Talisa had warned him weapons would be useless here. His tactical mind was analyzing exits, counting potential threats, noting the positions of what looked like security forces. "Stay close together," he said quietly to the others. They followed Talisa through corridors that twisted in ways that seemed to defy normal geometry. The station was massive beyond comprehension. She explained that over 50,000 beings lived here permanently, representing the 47 council species. Millions more visited for trade, tourism, or diplomatic business. Finally, they reached a vast waiting chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, covered in what looked like stars but moved and shifted. Other delegations waited here, aliens in formal attire speaking in dozens of languages. Talisa found them seats that adjusted automatically to human proportions. "The council will see you in 1 hour," she said. "I must prepare. While you wait, I want you to understand what you're facing." She pulled up a hologram showing the council chamber. It was a massive circular room with tiered seating rising up on all sides. In the center was a platform where those giving testimony would stand. "There will be representatives from all 47 species," Talisa explained. "The head of the council is Elder Vrash from the Litharian people. They are ancient, patient, and extremely intelligent. Vrash has led the council for over 300 years. 300 years? Mena repeated in shock. "Litharians live for thousands of years," Talisa said. "Time moves differently for them. Many council species live far longer than humans. They think in terms of centuries, not decades. This makes them cautious but also inflexible." She highlighted different sections of the chamber. "The Korthans will sit here. They'll push for immediate decisions, probably military action of some kind. They respect strength, so show no fear. The Silvani will be here. They'll ask strange questions about your individual thoughts because the concept still confuses them. Be patient with them." "And the preservation front?" Hyunwoo asked. Talisa's expression darkened. "They'll sit in the upper tiers. They won't ask questions. They'll simply argue for humanity's continued quarantine or elimination. Their speaker is Counselor Thresh, and he's very persuasive. Many species listen to him because he promises stability." As they waited, Doyen noticed something troubling. Many of the aliens in the waiting chamber looked similar to paintings and statues displayed on the walls. He realized the paintings were thousands of years old, yet the aliens looked almost identical to their ancient ancestors. They really don't change, he muttered. Yunji had noticed the same thing. It's like evolution stopped for them. No variation, no adaptation, just thousands of years of staying exactly the same. A tone sounded throughout the chamber, musical and clear. Talisa stood. It's time, follow me. Remember, let Doyen speak first since this began with his research. But don't be afraid to add your perspectives. The council needs to see that humans can work together despite being individuals. They walked through enormous doors into the council chamber. The sight made all 4 humans stop in their tracks. The room was even more massive than the hologram had shown. Tier upon tier of seating rose up in all directions and every seat was filled. Hundreds of alien beings watched them enter. Some were whispering to each other. Some sat in complete silence. The weight of all those eyes made Doyen's legs feel weak. At the top of the chamber, on a raised platform that seemed to float in the air, sat Elder Vrash. The Letharian was huge, at least 12 feet tall, and appeared to be made of living stone. Crystals grew from their shoulders and head, glowing with soft blue light. When Vrash spoke, the voice filled the entire chamber without seeming loud. It was deep and patient like the movement of glaciers. Humans of Earth, Vrash said, you stand before the Galactic Council. We have much to discuss. You have been kept apart from us for 200 of your years. This was not done out of cruelty but out of caution. Your species showed characteristics that troubled us. But now circumstances have changed. We must decide your fate. The 4 humans stood on the central platform. Spotlights focused on them, making it hard to see the upper tiers. Doyen stepped forward slightly. Thank you for seeing us, Elder Vrash. We came here to— Silence! A harsh voice interrupted. From the upper tiers, an alien stood. It had the appearance of an armored insect with sharp angles and dark colors. These humans should not be allowed to speak. They are dangerous. Their very presence here violates the quarantine protocols. Talisa spoke up from where she stood at the edge of the chamber. Counselor Thresh, the humans were invited here by my authority as a Viridian ambassador. They have the right to be heard. Rights? Thresh's voice dripped with contempt. They are a quarantined species. They have no rights under council law. I move that we end this hearing immediately and reinforce the quarantine barriers. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens seemed to agree with Thresh. Others looked uncertain. A new voice boomed out, powerful and commanding. Let them speak. A massive Korthan stood in the military section. His 4 arms were crossed over his broad chest. I am General Kavros. The Korthan Empire wishes to hear what these humans have to say. If they are as dangerous as Thresh claims, we should understand why. If they are not, then perhaps they deserve freedom. Elder Vrash raised one crystalline hand. Silence fell immediately. General Kavros makes a fair point. Doyen Kim of Earth, you may speak. Explain your research. Explain why your species has created technology that has alarmed many in this chamber. Doyen took a deep breath. He thought about what to say, how to make them understand. Finally, he decided to simply tell the truth. My research focuses on microorganisms that can survive in extreme conditions, he began. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. I study them because space is hostile to life. If humans are going to explore the galaxy, we need to understand how life adapts to impossible conditions. He saw he had their attention, so he continued. My colleague Mina Park used my data to develop a medical treatment. It helps human bodies heal from serious injuries. But we didn't create this to be a weapon or to threaten anyone. We created it to save lives. That's what humans do. We solve problems. We try to heal what's broken. Pretty words, Thresh called out. But healing technology can be weaponized. Soldiers who cannot die are very dangerous soldiers. Mina stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. Our medicine doesn't make people immortal. It helps them heal from injuries and trauma. There's a difference. We don't want to create super soldiers. We want to help people recover from pain. A Sylvani representative spoke, its voice like rustling leaves. Why do humans seek to eliminate trauma? Pain teaches lessons. Scars remind us of mistakes. Why would you erase these things? Yunji answered this time. We don't erase memories. We heal the damage that trauma causes to the mind and body. Humans believe that people should learn from their experiences, but shouldn't be destroyed by them. Every person deserves a chance to recover and grow. Elder Vrash leaned forward slightly. Interesting. You all speak. adding your voices to one another, yet you are clearly individuals with different thoughts. How do you function as a species without unity of mind? Hyunwoo smiled slightly. It was the first time he'd smiled since arriving. That's actually our strength, Elder Vrash. We disagree constantly. We argue and debate, but when something important is at stake, we find ways to work together. 4 different humans came here today because we each bring different skills. We're stronger together because we're different. Thresh stood again. This is exactly the problem. Humans are unpredictable. They are chaotic. He was cut off as alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed. Security forces began moving quickly through the aisles. Elder Vrash stood looking more concerned than they had during the entire hearing. A security chief approached Vrash quickly, speaking urgently. Vrash's crystalline features somehow managed to show shock. The elder turned to address the chamber. The hearing is suspended. All delegates must evacuate to secure locations. Security Protocol 7 is now in effect. Talisa rushed to the humans. Come with me quickly. What's happening? Doyen asked as they ran. Talisa's face was pale. Counselor Thresh has triggered an emergency lockdown. He's claiming you carry a dangerous biological agent. It's a lie, but it's a convenient one. They're going to detain you. The detention cells were designed to hold the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. Each cell was a cube about 10 feet on each side, surrounded by a shimmering energy field that made the air taste like metal. Doyen sat on the floor in his cell, his mind racing. They had been separated immediately after capture. He had no idea where the others were or if they were safe. The energy field hummed constantly, a low vibration that made thinking difficult. Doyen had tested the walls carefully. They weren't solid. His hand passed through them slightly before being pushed back by an invisible force. It was like pressing against strong wind. He suspected the field worked on multiple levels, suppressing both physical strength and possibly mental activity. Hours passed. Maybe days. It was hard to tell. The lights never changed. Food appeared occasionally on a platform that materialized inside the cell. Water came from a small fountain that emerged from the wall. The cell anticipated his needs but gave him nothing he could use to escape. Doyen thought about Earth, about all the humans who had no idea they were prisoners in a larger galaxy. He thought about Jiwoo back at New Horizon Station, waiting for news that would never come. Most of all, he thought about how he had failed. They had come here to save humanity, and instead they had handed themselves to their captors. In another cell 3 levels down, Yoonji Song was sitting cross-legged with her eyes closed. She wasn't sleeping. She was listening. Years of studying languages and communication patterns had trained her to notice subtle details. The energy field around her cell wasn't constant. It pulsed. The humming sound varied in pitch, creating a pattern. Yoonji began to hum along with the field, matching its frequency. Then she slowly changed her pitch, testing harmonics. The field flickered slightly. She smiled. Everything that used energy had a frequency. If she could find the right harmonic, she might be able to disrupt it. 2 levels up, Hyunwoo was pacing in his cell like a caged tiger. His military training had prepared him for imprisonment, but that didn't make it easier. He was analyzing the guard patterns. Every 6 hours, the guards changed shifts. During the change, there was a brief moment, perhaps 30 seconds, when the corridor outside was empty. It wasn't much, but it was something. Minha was in her cell examining the food platform. It materialized through the energy field, which meant there had to be a weakness in the field at that point. She carefully felt around the platform's edges, searching for any gap or variation in the energy. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. A guard approached Doyen's cell. But this guard was different. It was a Sylvani, one of the insect-like beings with the hive mind. It stood at the field's edge, its wings humming softly. Doyen Kim, it said in a voice that clicked and whistled. I am called Thoughtstream 7. I am unusual among my people. I have developed what you might call curiosity about individuality. Doyen stood up slowly. Why are you telling me this? Because the Sylvani Collective has been studying human culture since your quarantine began, Thoughtstream 7 explained. We intercepted your broadcasts, your stories, your art. Most of my people find it strange and uncomfortable, but I find it fascinating. The idea that one being can think completely unique thoughts, can make choices no other being would make. This is beautiful to me. I don't understand, Doyen said. Are you here to help us or to study us? The Sylvani's wings fluttered in what might have been laughter. Perhaps both. I will help you escape, but in return I wish to come with you. I want to understand individuality more deeply. I want to learn what it means to think alone. How can you help us escape? Doyen asked, hardly daring to hope. Thoughtstream 7 moved closer to the control panel outside the cell. I have access to the station's communication systems. I can connect you to your companions. And I have learned something interesting. These cells were designed to hold beings who rely on strength or advanced technology. They were not designed to hold beings who understand harmonics. The Sylvani manipulated controls that Doyen couldn't see. Suddenly, Doyen heard voices in his head. Not telepathy, but some kind of direct audio transmission. Doyen. It was Yunji's voice. Can you hear me? Yunji, I can hear you. Where are you? 3 levels down, I think. Listen, I've been studying the energy fields. They pulse at specific frequencies. If we can all create the same harmonic disruption at the same moment, we might be able to break free. Yunwu's voice joined in. The guard shift change happens in 40 minutes. That's our window. Even if we break out of the cells, we need to move fast. Mina spoke next. I found a weak point in the food delivery system. When we break free, head for the medical wing. There are injured prisoners there who have been abandoned. If we help them, they might join us. That's too dangerous, Yunwu argued. We should head straight for the docking bay. No, Doyen said firmly. Minya is right. We came here to show the Council that humans care about others. If we abandon injured prisoners to save ourselves, we prove Thresh right. We prove we're selfish and dangerous. There was silence. Then Hyunwoo sighed. Okay, we do this together, but we move fast. Yunji began teaching them the harmonic technique through the communication link. It required precise humming at a specific pitch while moving their hands in certain patterns near the field. It sounded impossible, but Thoughtstream 7 assured them it would work. At exactly 2300 station time, when the guard shift changed, all 4 humans attempted the technique simultaneously. The energy fields around their cells began to flicker and pulse. Alarms blared throughout the detention center, but for just a moment, the fields weakened enough for them to push through. Doyen stumbled out of his cell, his legs weak from days of sitting. Down the corridor, he saw other cells opening too. Not just the human cells, but dozens of others. The harmonic disruption had affected the entire detention level. Beings of various species emerged from their cells, confused and frightened. Many had been imprisoned for years. An old Viridian male looked around in shock. A young Korthan female blinked in the sudden brightness. A being made of liquid metal flowed out cautiously. Thoughtstream 7 appeared, its wings buzzing urgently. Follow me. Security will respond in minutes. The escaped prisoners formed a chaotic group. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to hide. Hyunwoo took command naturally, his military training asserting itself. Listen, we have one chance to get out of here. Stay together, stay quiet, and follow my lead. They moved through the corridors in a large group. Alarms continued to sound. Security forces were mobilizing, but the sheer number of escaped prisoners caused confusion. Guards didn't know which direction to respond to first. They passed through a large common area. Through a window, Doyen saw the medical wing Minha had mentioned. Inside, he could see injured beings lying on beds, some of them clearly in pain. The medical staff had fled when the alarm started. There, Minha said, pointing. We have to help them. We don't have time. One of the escaped prisoners, a tall being with 6 arms, argued. Security is coming. Minha didn't answer. She simply ran toward the medical wing. After a moment's hesitation, Doyen followed. Then Eunji. Then Hyunwoo, cursing under his breath. Inside the medical wing, they found 15 injured prisoners. Some had been hurt in fights. Others were sick with diseases that the Council's medicine couldn't cure. Minya moved from bed to bed with incredible speed, assessing injuries. She pulled medical supplies from cabinets, working with practiced efficiency. I need help, she called out. Several of the escaped prisoners, moved by her compassion, came to assist. Yunji helped translate medical terms into different languages. Doyen held tools and supplies. Even Hyunwoo, despite his urgency to escape, helped carry patients who couldn't walk. Minha used techniques from her research, applying treatments that the station's doctors hadn't known about. A Korthan with a severe chest wound stopped bleeding. An elderly Viridian with chronic pain stood up for the first time in years. A crystalline being whose matrix had been cracked began to glow with renewed light. The injured prisoners stared at Minha with something like wonder. One of them, a scarred Korthan warrior, spoke in a rough voice. Why? Why help us when you could save yourselves? Minya looked up from her work. Because that's what humans do. We help people who need help. It's who we are. The warrior nodded slowly. Then we will help you in return. My name is Corvus. I was imprisoned for speaking against the council. These others were jailed for similar crimes. We are scientists, artists, and thinkers who asked too many questions. If you are trying to escape this station, you have allies now. Suddenly, Thoughtstream 7 appeared in the doorway, its wings beating frantically. Security forces are surrounding this area. We're trapped! Hyunwoo ran to the window and looked out. His face went pale. He's right. There are at least 50 guards outside, and they're armed. The group of escaped prisoners looked at each other. They had come so far, but now they were cornered. Doyen felt the weight of failure again, but then he looked around at all the beings they had freed, at the injured prisoners Minha had healed, at the hope in their eyes. We didn't come this far to give up, he said. We faced them together. The security forces surrounded the medical wing completely. Through the windows, Doyen could see them taking positions, their weapons trained on the exits. The escaped prisoners gathered behind him, a mixed group of over 30 beings from different species. Many were weak from imprisonment. Some were still injured despite Minha's treatments. They wouldn't last long in a fight. Hyunwoo was thinking tactically, looking for defensible positions. But he knew the truth. They were trapped. We could barricade the doors, he said quietly. Buy ourselves maybe an hour. And then what? Yoonji asked. They'll just wait us out. The communication system crackled to life. A voice filled the medical wing, deep and patient. It was Elder Vrash. Humans of Earth, you have caused significant disruption. Many prisoners have escaped because of your actions. The Council is prepared to be lenient if you surrender immediately. You will face trial, but your lives will be spared. Doyen looked at his companions. Minya's face was determined. Yoonji looked thoughtful. Hyunwoo's jaw was clenched in anger. They had come so far, risked so much, and now they were being offered mercy like criminals. Something hardened in Doyen's chest. He walked to the communication panel and pressed the response button. Elder Vrash, I respectfully decline your offer. There was a long pause. When Vrash spoke again, there was surprise in that ancient voice. You decline? You understand that you cannot escape. You are surrounded. I understand that, Doyen said. But I also understand something else. You've kept humanity quarantined for 200 years because you were afraid of us. You've imprisoned dozens of beings here because they asked questions or thought differently. You claim to maintain peace, but what you really maintain is control. Careful, human, Vrash warned. You speak of things you do not understand. Then help me understand, Doyen challenged. I want to address the entire Galactic Council again. Not as a prisoner, but as someone with something to offer. Broadcast it live across all member worlds. Give me 72 hours to prove humanity's worth. Another long silence. Doyen could imagine the chaos his request was causing. The council had probably never been challenged like this before. Finally, Vrash spoke again. What exactly are you proposing? A test, Doyen said, the idea forming as he spoke. You've judged humanity without really knowing us. Give me and my team a challenge. Something difficult. If we fail, you can reinforce the quarantine. If we succeed, humanity gets a fair hearing before the council. What kind of challenge? Vrash asked. Doyen looked at the others. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Minya smiled. Kyunji whispered, Trust yourself. You choose, Doyen said. Give us a problem that has troubled the galaxy. Provide us with materials and time. Let us show you what humans can do when we work together. Hours later, the 4 humans and Thoughtstream 7 stood in a sealed habitat inside the council station. The room was large, maybe 50 feet square, with plain metal walls. In the center was a pile of equipment and materials. Elder Vrash's voice came through speakers in the ceiling. This is the trial of innovation, Vrash explained. Over the centuries, 43 different species have attempted this test. All have failed. You have 72 hours to create something useful from the materials provided. These materials are considered worthless by council standards. They are broken equipment, depleted energy cells, and waste products from various technologies. Doyen walked around the pile, examining it. There were crystals with cracks in them, metal pieces that looked melted or corroded, containers of liquids in various colors, circuit boards that appeared burned out. It looked like a junk pile. The test is being broadcast across the entire council network, Vrash continued. Billions will watch. Show us what humanity can accomplish, or fail and accept your place as a quarantined species. The speakers went silent. The five of them stood looking at the pile of junk. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Hyunwoo laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. They gave us garbage and expect us to make something useful. It's like they don't know humans at all. What do you mean? Thoughtstream 7 asked, its wings fluttering with curiosity. Humans are experts at making something from nothing, Hyunwoo explained. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Give a human some scraps and tools and they'll build you a city. Yoonji was already sorting through the materials. Look at this. These components are from at least 15 different species technologies. Each species probably tried to use only the pieces they recognize from their own technology. But we don't have our own space technology tradition, Mina added, understanding. We're too new. We have no prejudices about how things should work. Doyen felt excitement building. That's our advantage. We can see possibilities they can't. Hyunwoo, you take command. Organize us like a military unit. Yoonji, you communicate. Figure out what each piece of equipment was meant to do. Minya, you analyze the biological and chemical properties. Thoughtstream 7, you help connect us to the station's database for information. They worked with focused intensity. Hyunwoo divided the habitat into sections. Material storage, work areas, testing zone. He created a schedule with rest periods and meal times, making sure they stayed efficient. Yoonji connected to the station's AI assistant, something previous test takers had apparently ignored. She asked it questions about the materials, learning their original purposes. A broken Viridian energy crystal, a depleted Corthan power cell, Sylvani biological waste, pieces from dozens of technologies all considered useless. Minha set up a makeshift laboratory using some of the containers. She tested the liquids and found they had interesting properties when mixed. Some became highly conductive. Others became strong adhesives. The biological waste from the Sylvani contained enzymes that could break down certain metals. Doyun began experimenting with combinations. What if they connected the Viridian crystal to the Corthan power cell using the conductive liquid? The crystal began to glow faintly. It was absorbing the tiny amount of energy left in the cell and amplifying it somehow. I have an idea, Doyun said after 12 hours of work. What if we're not supposed to build one thing? What if we're supposed to create a system? They gathered around as he sketched his concept. Look, each species' technology has waste products. What if we built something that connects all these different waste streams and converts them into something useful? A universal recycling system? Minya asked. More than that, Doyen said, his excitement growing. A waste-to-energy converter that works across different technologies. And if we use the biological enzymes Minha found, we can include data storage. Organic computers that grow from waste material. They worked for 2 days straight, taking only short breaks for sleep. The device grew slowly, a strange hybrid of different technologies connected in ways that no single species would have thought possible. Viridian crystals powered by Corthan cells, connected through Sylvani biological matrices, held together with adhesives created from waste chemicals. It was ugly and inefficient by advanced standards. But it worked. On the third day, they activated their creation. The device hummed to life. It began drawing in small amounts of waste material they fed it. The biological section started growing slowly, creating new storage capacity. The energy sections generated small but measurable amounts of power. It was producing more energy than it consumed. It works, Yoonji breathed. It actually works. Doyen looked up at the cameras recording everything. Elder Vrash, we've completed the test. This device converts waste from multiple technology types into usable energy and data storage. It's scalable. It could be built large enough to handle station-wide waste management. There was no immediate response. But they knew billions of beings were watching across the galaxy. What they didn't know was what was happening in laboratories and workshops on dozens of worlds. Scientists from different species were watching the broadcast and having the same realization. They could collaborate across species lines. They could combine technologies in new ways. The humans hadn't just built a device. They had demonstrated a completely new approach to innovation. On the Corthan homeworld, engineers were already sketching improvements to the human design. On the Sylvani colony worlds, hive minds were discussing the implications of cross-species technology sharing. Even the isolated preservation front worlds were experiencing something they hadn't felt in centuries: curiosity about what might be possible. Finally, Elder Vrash spoke. The council will deliberate on what we have witnessed. You will wait for our judgment. But Doyen knew something had changed. The galaxy had watched 4 humans and 1 curious Sylvani take garbage and create something new. More importantly, they had watched them do it by combining ideas from multiple species without prejudice or tradition holding them back. The trial had been designed to show humanity's failure. Instead, it had shown the galaxy what they had forgotten: the power of innovation, collaboration, and refusing to accept that something is impossible just because it's never been done before. Now they could only wait and hope that the council would see what billions of viewers were already beginning to understand. Humanity wasn't dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they represented change, and change was exactly what the galaxy needed. The council chamber was louder than Doyen had ever heard it. Instead of orderly debate, species representatives were shouting at each other across the tiers. Some were arguing for humanity's immediate acceptance into the galactic community. Others were demanding the quarantine be reinforced with military force. The careful peace that had held for thousands of years was cracking. Elder Vrash sat on the floating platform, unmoving as stone, but Doyen could sense tension in that ancient being. The trial had not gone as the council expected. Instead of proving humanity's unworthiness, it had sparked something dangerous: hope for change. The 4 humans waited in a guarded chamber adjacent to the main hall. They could hear the chaos through the walls. Talisa had come to check on them, her silver skin looking paler than usual. The council has never been like this, she said quietly. Species that have been silent allies for centuries are now arguing bitterly. The Korthan Empire is threatening to grant humanity protection whether the council approves or not. The Preservation Front is talking about secession. We didn't mean to cause chaos, Mina said, though she didn't sound entirely sorry. Didn't you? Talisa asked with a small smile. You showed the galaxy what's possible when beings refuse to accept limitations. That's the most dangerous idea of all. A tone sounded. They were being called back to the council chamber. Security guards escorted them through corridors filled with aliens who stared at them with expressions ranging from admiration to fear to hatred. The humans had become the most famous beings in the galaxy in just 3 days. They took their positions on the central platform. The shouting in the chamber gradually quieted. Elder Vrash finally spoke, and there was strain in that usually calm voice. The council has deliberated on the trial of innovation. We have witnessed something unprecedented. However, before we render our judgment, there are matters that must be addressed. Vrash gestured to a section of the chamber. General Kavros of the Korthan Empire wishes to speak. The massive 4-armed warrior stood. His voice boomed across the chamber. The Korthan Empire is impressed by human innovation and courage. We formally propose a military alliance with humanity. Together we could bring order and strength to the galaxy. Doyen felt a chill. An alliance with the Korthans might guarantee human survival, but at what cost? Before he could respond, Counselor Thresh stood in the upper tiers. This is exactly the danger I warned about. Thresh's voice was sharp and angry. The humans have been here less than a week, and already they're disrupting millennia of peace. Already the Korthans see them as military assets. This is why they should remain quarantined. Hyunwoo stepped forward. With respect, Counselor Thresh, we didn't ask for a military alliance. We came here asking for freedom and the chance to prove ourselves. If that disrupts your peace, maybe your peace wasn't as stable as you thought. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Beings didn't speak to council members like that. But Elder Vrash raised a hand for silence. The human speaks with boldness, Vrash said. Perhaps too much boldness. But perhaps honesty is required now. This council has maintained stability for 10,000 years. But at what price? Counselor Thresh speaks of peace, but is it truly peace when species are afraid to innovate or question? Is it peace when prisoners are held for thinking differently? Thresh looked shocked. Elder Vrash, surely you are not suggesting— I am suggesting nothing, Vrash interrupted. I am stating facts. This council must face difficult truths. The chamber fell silent. Something important was happening. Doyen could feel it in the air. During the recess that followed, the humans were returned to their guarded chamber. They had been there for perhaps an hour when alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The guards at their door tensed, weapons ready. The door burst open. Beings in dark armor rushed in, weapons drawn. These weren't station security. The leader pointed a weapon directly at Doyen. For the preservation of galactic order, the leader said. The humans must be eliminated. Time seemed to slow. Doyen saw Hyunwoo moving, trying to shield Mina. He saw Yoonji backing against the wall. He saw the weapon beginning to fire. Then Thoughtstream 7 was there, moving with incredible speed. The Sylvani's hard carapace blocked the weapon's energy blast. More beings rushed in behind the attackers, the prisoners they had freed during the escape, led by Corvus the Corthan warrior. A fight erupted in the small chamber. It was over in seconds. The attackers were subdued. Corvus stood over them, breathing hard. We heard about the assassination attempt. Those of us you freed have been watching over you. We will not let extremists harm those who showed us compassion. Station security arrived moments later. The would-be assassins were arrested. The leader was identified as a member of the Preservation Front's radical wing. They had acted without official approval, but the message was clear. Some beings would rather see humanity dead than see the galaxy change. Back in the council chamber, Elder Vrash addressed the assembly. The assassination attempt had shocked even those who supported the quarantine. Killing in cold blood was not something the council approved of, no matter the justification. We have reached a moment of decision, Vrash said. But before that decision is made, there are truths this council must face. Truths I have kept hidden for too long. The chamber went completely silent. Doyen felt his heart racing. What was Vrash about to reveal? While the humans were completing their trial, I ordered investigations into our own systems, Vrash continued. Medical Officer Minha Park, during your treatment of the injured prisoners, you discovered something. Genetic markers suggesting deliberate stagnation. I had my own scientists verify your findings. Mina stood up straight. Yes, Elder Vrash. Many species show signs of having their evolution artificially slowed or stopped. I thought it might be natural, but the patterns were too consistent. You were correct to be suspicious, Vrash said heavily. I authorized deep research into our oldest records. What we found disturbs me greatly. 50,000 years ago, something called the harmonization event occurred. Before my time, before the council itself. In the chaos that followed, records were incomplete. But now we have discovered the truth. Vrash activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed ancient star charts and data streams that even the humans could tell were incredibly old. A precursor species, far more advanced than any of us, released something into the galaxy, Vrash explained. They called it the harmonization wave. It was designed to reduce conflict by reducing the drive for rapid change and evolution. It worked. Wars stopped. Species stabilized. But we also stopped growing, stopped innovating, stopped truly living. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. Many species had suspected something like this, but hearing it confirmed was different. Humanity, Vrash continued, looking directly at Doyen, evolved in a region of space where the harmonization wave was weakest. You developed naturally without its influence. That is why you seem so chaotic and unpredictable to us. You are what we all were before the wave changed us. Are you saying, Yoonji spoke up, that every species here has been under some kind of control for 50,000 years? Not control, Vrash corrected. Influence. Subtle pressure toward stability and away from change. The wave doesn't force anything. It simply makes change feel uncomfortable, makes innovation feel dangerous. Over thousands of years it shaped our civilizations without us realizing it. Doyen felt dizzy with the implications. Can it be stopped? Can you remove the wave's influence? That is the question before us now, Vrash said. The human trial demonstrated what's possible without the wave's influence. But deactivating it would throw the galaxy into chaos. Species would suddenly experience drives and urges they haven't felt in millennia. There would be conflicts, rapid changes, instability. There would also be growth, Doyen said firmly. Progress. Life. Counselor Thresh stood, his voice shaking with anger. This is madness. You would destroy 50,000 years of peace for the sake of change? How many will die in the chaos? How many civilizations will fall? How many have already died in slow stagnation? Hyunwoo countered. How many potential scientists, artists, and thinkers have been suppressed because the wave made them uncomfortable? General Cavro stood again. I must confess something to this council. The Corthan Empire has ancient legends about our people. Before the harmonization event, we were not warriors. We were artists, philosophers, and dreamers. The wave locked us into a military role, and we have played that role for so long we forgot who we really were. I support deactivating the wave. I want my people to remember what we lost. Species after species began standing, speaking their truth. The Silvani revealed they had once been individuals before the wave pushed them toward hive minds. The Viridians admitted they had become too cautious, too diplomatic, forgetting the passion that once drove them. Even some of the Preservation Front members stood and confessed they wanted change but were too afraid to say so. Finally, Elder Vrash spoke again. Then let us vote. Not just council representatives, but every citizen of every member species. We will hold a galaxy-wide referendum. Should the harmonization wave be gradually deactivated, starting with volunteer worlds? Should we accept the risk of chaos for the possibility of true life again? The vote would take 3 days to complete. With billions of beings, participant Elder Vrash requested a private meeting with Doyun. The ancient Litharian led him to a chamber deep beneath the council station, a place few beings had ever seen. The walls here were made of the same crystalline material as Vrash's body, and they glowed with soft light that seemed to come from within. I brought you here because you deserve to know the complete truth, Vrash said. The elder's voice echoed in the crystal chamber. Not the version the council knows, but the full story. Vrash activated an ancient display system. Images appeared in the crystals showing civilizations rising and falling in fast motion. 50,000 years ago, the galaxy was violent and chaotic. Species evolved rapidly, expanding aggressively, fighting over resources and territory. Countless civilizations destroyed themselves or each other. The precursor species, called the Architects, watched this cycle repeat endlessly. The images showed beautiful ethereal beings that seemed to exist half in light. The Architects had achieved technology we still cannot understand. They could shape reality itself. They were horrified by the constant suffering they witnessed. So they made a decision they believed was merciful. The images showed a wave of energy spreading across the galaxy, touching every world with life. They created the harmonization wave. It didn't control minds or force behavior. It was far more subtle. It made rapid change feel uncomfortable. It made conflict feel exhausting. It gently pushed all species toward stability, cooperation, and slow, cautious progress. It worked too well, Doyen said quietly. Yes. Vrash agreed. The wars stopped. Species stopped destroying themselves, but they also stopped truly living. The Architects realized their mistake, but by then it was too late. The wave had become part of the galaxy's natural energy field. Even they couldn't fully remove it. Eventually, the Architects themselves fell victim to their own creation. They stopped innovating, stopped growing, and slowly faded away. Their last act was to leave behind instructions on how to gradually reduce the wave's influence. But those instructions were hidden, meant to be found only when a species was ready. And humanity? Doyen asked. Humanity evolved in what the Architects called a shadow zone where the wave's influence was weakest, Vrash explained. Perhaps by chance, perhaps by the Architects' design as a failsafe. When we discovered humanity, we realized what you represented, a species developing naturally without the wave's influence. The Council was terrified. If humans joined the galactic community, you would expose everything the wave had done to us. So you quarantined us, Doyen said. Yes, Vrash admitted, but a small group of us, myself included, wondered if perhaps humanity was exactly what the galaxy needed. We watched you for 2 centuries debating among ourselves. When your medical breakthrough threatened to force contact, I saw it as an opportunity. I am the one who leaked the information that brought the other powers' attention to humanity. I am the one who ensured Talisa found you specifically. Doyen stared at the ancient being. You manipulated all of this? I created the circumstances, Vrash corrected gently. But you and your companions did the rest. I could not have predicted your compassion for imprisoned strangers, or your innovation during the trial, or your courage in facing the Council. Those were purely human qualities. You proved to the galaxy that change doesn't have to be destructive. You showed us how to be alive again. What happens now? Doyen asked. Now the real work begins, Vrash said. The wave will be reduced gradually over the next century, starting with worlds that volunteered. Humanity will be at the center of that effort, teaching other species how to handle change, conflict resolution, and rapid innovation. It will not be easy. There will be conflicts and mistakes, but it will be real. They returned to the council chamber for the formal announcement. The quarantine around human space was being lifted immediately. Earth would be contacted officially within the week. The human ship would be allowed to return home, and formal diplomatic relations would begin. But first, there were personal matters to address. General Kavros approached the humans with a very different proposal than his earlier military alliance. The Korthan people have been discussing your trial. We have decided to establish cultural exchange programs with humanity. We wish to learn about art and philosophy from you, and teach you about our martial traditions, not as warriors but as a practice of discipline and inner strength. The general's forearms gestured, and what the humans had learned was a Korthan sign of respect. We have been warriors for so long because the wave made us comfortable only in that role. But watching you work together, we remembered something. Before the harmonization event, Korthans created beautiful sculptures and wrote poetry that made people weep. We want to rediscover that part of ourselves. Counselor Thresh approached next, moving slowly. The insect-like being looked diminished somehow, less certain. I owe you an apology, Thresh said quietly. I have been arguing for preservation and stability my entire life. But in truth, I was simply afraid. Afraid of change. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of discovering that everything I believed was wrong. You humans have shown great courage. Perhaps it is time I found some courage as well. Mina smiled gently. Fear is normal. What matters is what you do with it. Thoughtstream 7 buzzed its wings excitedly. The Silvani Collective has granted me permission to remain with you, at least temporarily. I wish to study individuality more closely. Perhaps I can help bridge understanding between hive-minded species and individual-minded ones. Over the next few days, the humans prepared for their journey home. But the station had transformed around them. Scientists from different species were collaborating in ways that hadn't happened in thousands of years. Artists were sharing techniques across cultural barriers. Young beings were asking questions their elders had never dared to ask. Minha established a medical network, training healers from dozens of species in her regenerative techniques. She discovered that many species had healing knowledge of their own that had been forgotten or suppressed. By combining approaches, they created treatments more effective than any single species could have achieved alone. Yunji became the chief translator for what they were calling the New Harmony Accords. These were agreements about how species would interact in this new era of change. She worked with linguists from across the galaxy, creating new ways for different beings to understand each other. Yunwu joined a reformed council security force that would help maintain peace during the transition period. But this force would be different. Instead of suppressing change, they would help species navigate it safely. Yunwu brought human ideas about peacekeeping and conflict resolution that the other security members had never considered. Doyen was offered the position of director for the Galactic Innovation Institute, a new facility being built on the council station. It would be a place where beings from any species could come to learn, experiment, and push the boundaries of what was possible. Doyen accepted, though he insisted the Institute's first satellite campus would be built at New Horizon Station in human space. Before they left, Talisa came to say goodbye. You asked me once why I came to find you specifically, she said to Doyen. The truth is, I have been preparing for this moment for over 50 years. I am part of a reformist group within the Viridian Coalition. We have been working quietly to change the council from within, but we needed a catalyst. We needed something to shake the galaxy awake. You became that catalyst. You used us, Doyen said, but there was no anger in his voice. I gave you an opportunity, Talisa corrected. What you did with it was entirely your choice. You could have stayed silent, could have taken the military alliance with the Korthans, could have acted selfishly. Instead, you showed compassion, innovation, and courage. That was all you, Doyen Kim. 6 months later, Doyen stood in his lab aboard New Horizon Station. But the station had changed dramatically. It was now a hub of interspecies research, with scientists from 20 different species working side by side. Ships arrived and departed constantly, carrying beings eager to learn and share knowledge. Through the viewport, he could see Earth in the distance. The planet had been in chaos for weeks after official first contact, but humans were adapting with characteristic speed. Some were frightened, some were excited, but humanity as a whole was beginning to understand their place in a much larger community. His communicator chimed. It was a signal from deep space, from a region that had never been explored. The message was simple but profound. Hello, we are the Rane. We are attempting first contact. Can you help us understand this galaxy? Doyen smiled. Another species was joining the community. The galaxy was getting louder, messier, more chaotic, but it was also getting more alive. He thought about that night 6 months ago when Talisa had walked into his lab. He had told her she was in the wrong room, but she had known exactly where she needed to be. Sometimes the wrong room at the wrong time turns out to be exactly right. He pressed the communication button. Hello, Ranai. Welcome to the galactic community. Yes, we can help you. Let me tell you about a galaxy that's learning to live again. 50 years passed, the galaxy was transformed. The harmonization wave had been reduced to barely measurable levels.